Welcome back to another segment of KCLL's What to Expect When video series. Our returning guest experts are Professor Deirdre Belwin, who is director of the Seattle University Family Law Center, and Teresa Nevesarolova, who is the director of the volunteers at that same program. So in the previous session, we learned about, in a bigger way, what the SU Family Law Center does. Let's assume that I am a client. I've reached out and found out that your services exist, and now I'm reaching out to you to actually communicate with you about how to get help. What happens?
Thanks, Rick. To start with the domestic violence protection order clinic, because as we discussed in the last video, there's two different clinics that we have. Starting there, we want to make sure people are clear on the ways that there is a point of contact. So there, first, you may reach out to us directly to the Family Law Center via email or the main line. You may pick up one of the business cards that is directly connected to an intern that's associated with the cards that are in the King County Law Library, for example, or you may quote unquote hire us for free via the Legal Adams website. We will get an alert with regard to you reaching out to us about the domestic violence protection order, and then that gets assigned to an intern. Given this is where Teresa manages the interns, I'll have her step in and say what happens next.
So as you mentioned, there are multiple ways to get in touch with us. I'm going to start with Legal Adams because Legal Adams is a user-friendly platform that we're using where clients can start working on the forms and when they hire us, we can already see some of their responses or all of them if they complete the forms. So when we get hired through Legal Adams, we will review what they've already written, and then we might have some suggestions or just the attorney can review it and we can help organize the statement. It is a very traumatic experience for the client, so maybe just talking about it with someone can help sort of organize, chronologically or just to clarify some of the events. So that's for Legal Adams. But if clients reach out to us,
Teresa, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second because I want to just make sure that we're not alarming our potential clients. And we're using the word hire in the Legal Adams context. We are not hiring us for a fee. You are just choosing us to assist you for free. So I just wanted to make that clear that that's what we're talking about with Legal Adams.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes, the services are completely free. So if a client hires us, sorry, not hire, if a client reaches out to us through the business cards or our website or email, the process is a little different because we don't have a platform where we can see what they're calling us about. So what we always ask is that if people call us, we will not pick up when they call because we might not be in a secure environment. So we always ask the client to leave a voicemail and then we return the phone call within 24 hours. After we call back, we will do an intake with the client. One of our legal interns will do the intake to gather more information so we can determine what assistance is needed. When it comes to the domestic violence protection orders, we absolutely prioritize those cases and we make sure that the petitions can be filed as fast as possible. Our legal
Teresa, do you, when we're gathering the intake in that phone call, are you filling out the petition at that time or just gathering facts first?
We are just gathering facts because after the phone call is over, the legal intern connects with the supervising attorney and they discuss the case. And the supervising attorney reviews the facts and they might choose a strategy. They want to make sure that we have all the pertinent facts and we want to make sure that the petition is as strong as possible.
So we're trying to do essentially two things. One, make sure that a domestic violence protection order is the right petition or pathway. And then second, if it is the right pathway, that we are assisting them in one, correctly filling out the form, but second, as you said, making sure we have as strong and robust and clearly laid out set of facts to be able to meet the standard to get the protection order if possible.
Exactly.
Do we, in doing that petition work, what if I were a client and I'm calling you and I'm so happy to finally be able to talk to someone and you're asking me facts? Can I ask you some legal questions and get legal advice?
You cannot get legal advice from the legal intern on the phone. The legal intern will or can write down all your questions, and when they are discussing your case with the attorney can answer those questions, but the interns cannot answer any legal questions on the phone.
So you would go and relay those questions back to the supervising attorney, and then the supervising attorney would review and get the information back to you, and you then would be in direct contact with the client.
Exactly.
Teresa, so we've got intake. You are then having a conversation with the supervising attorney to make sure we've got the right pathway. What happens next?
Once the supervising attorney chooses the strategy and basically points the client in the right direction, we can start working on those forms. As you've mentioned, all of our services are remote, so it's done either via phone call or Zoom. And we work with the client to fill out the proper forms. The forms are then also reviewed by the supervising attorney before the legal intern sends them to the client.
Teresa, I just have a question. So if we're doing things over Zoom or a phone call in terms of filling out these, highly sometimes scary, traumatic forms, what do we do to ensure, if anything, that the client is feeling safe in terms of where we're filling out those forms or having that conversation?
Mhm. So all of our interns are trained to navigate those situations. They always ensure that they are in a secure place and they communicate with the client that if the client feels uncomfortable, overwhelmed, or unsafe at any point during the phone call, they can always hang up. They can reschedule the appointment. We work with many interns, so we have flexibility to reschedule the appointments for later in the day or weekends if necessary. So we just really want to make sure that the client feels safe and comfortable with filling out the forms.
And so we're going to do things like making sure that when we're engaging in the process, if we do have to hang up and we call back, we never leave a voicemail so that there's no record. And that if someone like the abuser were to do a return call on the number in speaking to you, it's not going to indicate who you are or that there's any association with the Family Law Center.
Exactly.
Okay, so we now have the process where you've collaborated with the client in the way that is most comfortable for them to get this form filled out, as well as the other forms that might be necessary. So then it would come back to someone like me to review. And if there's any feedback I have, what happens next?
If there's any feedback or we need to gather more information, we will. Before we end the initial phone call with the client, we will ask for safety calls so they can share their availability with us when it's safe for them. So if there is a necessary follow-up, we will call during those times and get more information from the client. After we, follow up on that feedback, the supervising attorney then reviews what we've gathered again, and then we send the forms back to the client.
So I just want to clarify that at the point that you're sending the forms back to the client, We are then saying you, the client, are the expert. And so you will make the determination, do you want to actually file these? And then also we want to make sure they understand that we are not providing extra services now beyond what we've done in terms of representing them in court, but we can provide them with additional resources such as figuring out safety plan or housing or food voucher or transportation voucher. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So at no point do we actually directly represent them or file a notice of appearance to say that we are the attorney who is doing the work. It's entirely their form to fill out and file should they choose to.
Exactly. They are in charge of the forms. We are simply providing assistance with filling them out, but they can always make changes to them, and then it is their decision whether they want to file them or not.
And yeah, under their timeline. And certainly we provide like the instructions on how to file, but it is all within their control. It's important that we give them agency around that. Is there anything else, Teresa, that with regards to the DVPO service that you wanted to add?
I would just like to add that we've already talked about how flexible we are because we work with law students at Seattle University. We are able to offer availability later in the day or during the weekends, sometimes during the holidays as well. But I would just like to note that they are law students and they can get busy sometimes. And even though they work they're doing their best to get back to the clients. They are helping on volunteer basis, and sometimes it is just not possible to get back to someone immediately, but we make sure that it is within 24 hours in all cases that involve domestic violence.
And we work as rapidly as we can with those domestic violence cases while also juggling the full-time law school load.
Exactly.